Today I'll be showing you how to do an installation of a VLine in a 2016 Acura TLX. Really basic tools are just what's needed for this. You're going to need a panel tool and a Phillips screwdriver. First thing you're going to do is get your panel tool behind the air conditioning vents and pull these forward. They're just held in by a couple clips. Right here you'll see the clips that you need to get your leverage behind. You're going to have these four on the top, this one on the bottom. Once you got those removed, you go ahead and get your Phillips head on your drill or use a Phillips screwdriver. There's going to be 8 screws. It's going to be 4 on each side. You're going to have 2 gold ones for the air conditioning and 2 black ones that hold the radio. Alright, after you got those removed, you're going to grab your panel tool again. There's going to be a panel that's up here in the top. It's held in by 2 clips that push inward and 4 along the front. I just put my panel tool on the side, pull up on it, and it slides right out. After you've done that, you're ready to pull the radio forward and disconnect some of the connections that are back there. For that part, we are going to come back. Alright, all the screws are removed. We got that panel out of the top. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to pull this radio forward. I would recommend, if you haven't done this before, just maybe put a towel right here on the bottom part. I'm just going to go ahead and hold it up with my hand. It'd probably be smart to take out the 2 screws on the top of the radio before you try to pull the radio out. I forgot about them, but there's 2 Phillips screws right here on the top. You could probably try to pull the radio with those screws in there, but you'll be sitting here all day. I'm just going to pull the radio forward. There's 1 plug right here for the hazard light, right there. Once that's removed, you can get the radio further back. Alright, now I'm going to start removing the connections. For this trim, every single port back here is occupied except for 1, which is the black one, so it's easy to remember what needs to be plugged back in. Most of these plugs just have a button on the top that you push down, and as you push down on the button, just pull away from the radio. In the very bottom, there's a kind of like a white locking mechanism right here, and it has a button that you push down from the back side of it, and then you pull back on that mechanism. Try to get you a better view of that there. So the button is right here. You just push that down and it'll go forward. It needs to be pushing in for me to lock it, but you would just push down on that button and pull it back. Alright, and on the bottom down here, I'll try to get a good view for the camera. Back here you're going to have a plug that goes into the back of the radio buttons. You're going to have a plug that goes into the back of the AC buttons. After those are disconnected, there's your radio. Now that we got the radio removed, we're going to be going to our connections right here. We're going to need to locate the reverse wire. I'm going to go ahead and get my harnesses prepared, and we will come back. Now I'm going to show you how to test for the reverse wire and locate the reverse wire. It's going to be on this plug right here. It's a 24-pin plug. You'll see the staggered layout. They're not completely lined up at the end. It's easy to identify the plug. It looks just like the instructions we include. The 24th pin is going to be in the very bottom corner. If you're looking from the back side, it's going to be on the left bottom. I'm going to show you how to test it. If you have a digital multimeter like ours, you're going to be on the DC current setting. That's going to be the straight line with the dotted lines. I'm going to take my ground probe, and I'm going to use the radio's factory ground. You can touch the ground probe to chassis, metal, possibly any of the screws that are back here behind the radio. I like to go ahead and use the factory ground on the radio. We're going to start the vehicle. First we'll test it with the vehicle in park. Not getting anything. Let's press reverse. You'll see the voltage jump to 13.5. As long as you're getting 12 volts, that means you found your reverse wire. We're going to go into park again, and it's going to go to 0. So now that we know that we've located our reverse wire, we're going to use the included posi tap to make the connection. Alright, this will be on the main harness. It's going to be the MCFHA3 harness. Let's take the posi tap apart. It's going to be 3 pieces. The first thing we'll do is take the bottom piece. Kind of has this channel, and we're going to put the channel on the back of the reverse wire. Next, I'll grab the reverse wire. It's labeled reverse. It has a REV on it right there. Get the back of the posi tap and slide your reverse wire into the wire. And go in from the top, or actually, the reverse wire, slide it in through the back. You'll see your threads. Just line your threads up with the posi tap. And twist it together. Now if you're using posi taps, always make sure you pull on the wire when you're done so you know it has a good connection and no copper is going to come out and be exposed. If you don't have a posi tap, let's say you lost it or you just want to military splice it, that's another way you can make the connection, which is really easy to do. You just strip back some of the copper, make a hole in the wire, and then electric tape it when you're done. Go ahead and turn the car off. Alright, first connection we'll make is on that plug. And we will make a connection on this plug. Now one of the pins is actually bent on this plug. The customer brought this to us from another shop who was struggling with the install, and it looks like one of these pins is already bent. So if I can't straighten this pin out, we are going to have to grab another harness. I'm just trying to make this pin as straight as possible. Yeah, there's no way we're going to be able to come back from that, so I'm actually going to have to grab another harness. We'll come back for that. I am going to redo this connection because the new harness, I'm going to have to redo that. We'll be right back. Alright, now that we've made the reverse wire connection and we tested everything, we know 100% sure that this is the reverse wire. We can continue making our connections, and then we'll route our wires and reassemble this thing. With the main harness, you have these 2 plugs for the radio. We're going to make sure that we plug the connectors that were removed from the radio into ours. And with our harness, these 2 are going to replace them and go into the radio. We also have our display cable. One end of our display cable is going to go into the back of the radio. The other end is going to be to plug in what was removed. It's going to be this one right here. And you're going to have your USB. Your USB is going to replace the USB that was removed from the radio. And with the USB, this is all that's going to go into the radio. I'm actually going to grab the radio and show y'all. It's going to go right there, plug in like that, and there will be nothing else to plug in right there. Once we're done routing all of our cables to the glove box, we're going to plug all these connectors back into the radio. Again, as previously mentioned, the only port on this radio that wasn't occupied was this one right here. So I've just got to make all these connections, and we'll come back for that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and show you how I ran all my cables. I already have most of the harnesses right here. I just have 1 or 2 more things to run. So I use a giant zip tie. I cut this end off of one and I tape it about halfway up. So you're looking at 2 zip ties taped together. As you're pushing and as you're pulling on this end, sometimes from the left side you'll kind of have to push back, because if this is going to get caught on anything, and even to prevent that, you can always just cover all that with tape as well. And that is how you run a wire to the glove box from the radio cavity. I'll come back to show you how I do the mic. Alright, now that we're finished running all of our cables, I'm going to show you how exactly I got them in the glove box. right in the back, there's a cabin filter. I just took the cabin filter out and I cut a notch in the back left over there. Ran all my cables through the opening, put the cabin filter back. When I'm finished, I just lift up my cables. This piece slides right back in. Now we got all our cables and the V-lines ready for mounting. This is a good time just to plug everything into the V-line and do some testing. Plug the radio completely back in, you know, without completely mounting the V-line. Go ahead and make sure you're getting audio, make sure you're getting video. That way you don't take all the time to mount it and then have to check on your installation again. Right here I'm just going to plug everything in. USB cable to USB port number 1. I also use Tessa tape on all the cables just to make them look a little bit nicer and match the interior. You don't have to do that. It's just a preference. Okay, so now that our cables are all like this, I'm probably going to pinch them together and push them in the back cavity back there just to kind of tighten them up. You could even reach your hand around the back if you want to try to pull on them a little bit. That's probably not going to be necessary for this one. Alright, and then for mounting, we're probably just going to mount it right up here on the top. Alright, I went ahead and I plugged in all the connections that I disconnected in the beginning of the video. Like I said, it was pretty easy because everything was populated except for the one black plug on the top. So when you're done with the install, just make sure everything that was disconnected is reconnected. I'm going to put the radio up. Alright, now we're going to put the 4 black Phillips screws in. And those are going to be on the 4 plastic tabs connected to the radio bezel. Alright, now we're going to do our 4 gold screws. They go slightly behind where the black screws went. For the USB, I dropped it down right here. There's a plastic panel right here that you can just pop down. It just comes right down, and it's real easy. There's 4 clips. I just popped it down, and just like I did with the cabin filter, I cut a small little notch for the USB to be able to come out nice and clean. Now we're going to remember to plug in the hazard in the top. Alright, got that plugged in. With the hazard switch, you should probably plug it in before you do the other screws, just to make it a little bit easier so you don't have to reach your hand around the back the way I did. We're pretty much just working in reverse order of what we did earlier. You got some notches right there. You just need to make sure are lined up with the back. Push them in first and then go down from the top. Alright, and our last air vent. These are very easy. I line up the bottom, just push the red clip into the hole for it, and then line up the rest of them. And they'll snap right in. Last thing I'll go over with you is the microphone. I went ahead and mounted right here. To do that, I just pulled this one part of the rearview mirror assembly off, and I ran the wire across the top here, across the headliner, all the way down the A-pillar, went into the weather stripping, and it was easy to get right behind the glove box with the rest of the wiring. Again, this is an install for a 2016 Acura TLX.